the state of California, if you are detained, it's not a shall ID state, right? We are not a shall ID state. So therefore I can't just pull up and be like, hey, what's your name, dude? Like, hey, what's your name, dude?
Well,
but if you're suspected of a crime and therefore detained, right?
So a lot of people are confused about that.
Yeah, so reasonable suspicion is essentially just like, hey, is this guy, has this guy, or will this guy be committing a crime, right?
Okay.
So that's reasonable suspicion, which in the state of California is enough for me to detain somebody.
Yeah, that's not true.
Okay.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Solemnly Valley Transparency. We're going to be doing a video for Bay Area Transparency. He's one of the best to ever do it, hands down. Many of you will say he is the best, and I wouldn't argue with you guys. I personally like this guy's work. I'm going to show you a clip from his channel. Very educational. I think Bay Area Transparency is progressing in his work. We're all supposed to, right? Not that any of his past work was bad. Watching him work right now is like going to one of the finest restaurants and not just enjoying the meal, but also enjoying the drink. Let's go ahead and get right to it, and we'll pause for some comments, and we'll talk about what's going on here with the whole Terri v. Ohio thing. And I think Bay Area Transparency has an understanding of all of this, so let's go ahead and check this out.
Yeah.
But yeah, so stop and identify state is like Nevada, right?
Right.
That law specifically says, and every state's different that has stop and ID laws, that law specifically says if an officer has reasonable suspicion you've committed a crime under Terri, they have the right to get your personal information.
Terry's something completely different, right?
But that's where reasonable suspicion comes from, is from Terri versus Ohio.
Well, no, Terri is completely separate. Terri allows me to frisk the pockets of somewhere there would be a weapon based off of certain circumstances.
Terri versus Ohio established reasonable suspicion.
Right.
Because before that, you had a probable cause standard under the Fourth Amendment.
Detain you,
Reasonable suspicion. Correct. But that's
then
Terri.
pat search you is a separate thing.
Well, now, yeah, but
Doing
now there's
Terri
People
search.
versus Garcia for pat search, right? You have to have reasonable suspicion. I have a weapon now under People versus Garcia.
Well, that's what, based off of multiple articulable facts, that's what Terri versus Ohio was in the first place.
Right, but
Yeah, folks, I think Bay Area Transparency has an understanding of what Terri v. Ohio is. I think the whole terminology of stop and ID state, I really do believe that's a misnomer. I really don't think that the Fourth Amendment could be bypassed. I know that government will try over and over again. They will use certain terminology to make people believe that they have to do certain things. Because they cannot override the Constitution, the Fourth Amendment, they'll create these terms. So let's go ahead and keep watching. I'll see you guys at the end.
Based off of like lighting, timing, area, is it a high gang, high crime area, right? Things like that.
well, what I'm saying is under Terri, that's where reasonable suspicion happens. So if you have in the stuff
has been around multitudes prior to Terri v. Ohio.
Before Terri versus Ohio, you were not allowed to stop somebody for reasonable. So that's a 1969 case. It's so old. Police couldn't say you had a probable cause standard at that point. You had to have probable cause they committed a crime. Terri versus Ohio said, no, we can detain you under reasonable suspicion you've committed a crime, and we can pat frisk you if X, Y, Z, right? But what I'm saying is, regardless of Terri, what I'm saying is that's the stop and ID laws. If you have reasonable suspicion somebody committed a crime in a stop and ID state, you can ID that person. California doesn't have that. The only law in California that says even under reasonable suspicion you have to lawfully arrest somebody for them to ID, and it's at the jail.
If you are,
so you can't charge somebody with obstruction because they didn't want to ID because you had reasonable suspicion.
so if you get all the way down to the point of booking and you're still failing to identify yourself, that's typically when the
Then it's the
148
charge.
And that's what I was telling you, right? It's a little bit different circumstances.
Yeah, so
not
it's lawfully arrested.
right.
But it wouldn't be out on the street. Like right here I could deny. But if you said, no, I'm gonna give you a ticket, that's an arrest, right? And I'd have to ID. See what I'm saying?
You're mixing a couple of things, which, I mean, it's understandable because of how the California law is written in the first place. It's just very legal jargony, and it's a bunch of, like, I could argue this side and I could argue this side because of how gray everything's written. Give me 1 second.
So there are several different states that say they are stop and ID states, but in reality, cops still need to have reasonable, articulable suspicion that you're about to commit a crime, have committed a crime. Without that, they can't demand identification. They can have reasonable suspicion, but they still got to meet all these factors. And in order to take you into custody, they still got to have SAF, S-A-F, a single articulable fact that you've actually committed a crime. And it's important that we understand this because, like I said earlier, they will use use terminology to make you believe you have to do certain things. I believe Bay Area Transparency explained this very, very well. I think he's progressed in his work. Not that any of his work in the past was bad. No, I've always liked his work, but I think watching Bay Area Transparency get down in his work right now is something beautiful to watch, folks. I gotta tell you, he takes breaks. A lot of you guys always reach out to me, is Bay Area Transparency, is he okay? Every now and then I'll text him and be like, hey bro, you doing good? He's like, yeah, man, I'm fine. So I always do try to check up on him when you guys are worried about him. We should all be doing that for each other, right? There's a time when I got really sick, and Bay Area Transparency, he looked out for me as well with kind words and also trying to help with tips and stuff, man. So shout out to you, the Batman, for that stuff, bro. I appreciate you on that. Not everybody cares, bro. A lot of people act like they care, but motherfuckers don't be caring for you out here sometimes and shit. And I think he's a good man. He's a family man. I think he wants justice for himself and his kids, for everyone as well, you know. Definitely go subscribe to Bay Area Transparency. Regarding Terri v. Ohio, he's right. A lot of us do the work that we do, and we really don't know and understand how much change we can create. I know Bay Area Transparency has seen some massive changes out there where he does his work. I think he will continue to create change. And if you guys, like I said, if you guys are not subscribed to Mr. Bat, Bay Area Transparency, the Bat, you guys are missing out. And you guys will get lost on his channel just binge watching, guaranteed, and you'll love every minute of it. The way Bay Area Transparency gets down on his videos, man, shit. You know what's crazy is I don't get excited to meet celebrities and shit like that. I get excited to link up with Bay Area Transparency and solid ass mofos like that. So shout out to you, the Bat. Thank you for all you do, bro. Outstanding work. I just wanted to highlight this clip because I think it's important. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.